In the previous video in this series, we delved into the reality of the soul trap and the loosh farm as depicted in certain motion pictures. And I have to tell you, the evidence is clear. The ruling class has been privy to this deception for thousands of years. What if there are other actors in this grand demiurgic drama? What if some of the people you encounter in your daily life, at the grocery store, at school, or on your way to worship, are mere props? What if they are just a part of the simulation, nothing more than non-player characters in a video game? But before we slide deeper down that rabbit hole, if you're a fan of exploring fringe topics, uncovering the nature of things that go bump in the night, or just generally uncovering the secrets of the universe, then you've arrived at the right channel, and we'll be blowing your mind at least once a week. You know what to do. Like and subscribe and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our reality-shattering content. Now, let's see what's come across the Enigma Desk.
The views expressed in this video are not necessarily shared by the video's creator. This is meant to be an objective presentation of alternative viewpoints and topics not normally discussed in mainstream society. Do your own research. Do your own soul search.
If you've ever played Skyrim or Elden Ring, then you understand the concept of an NPC. In these virtual worlds, your character is a reflection of the decisions that you make. While the character may not possess true consciousness, it is controlled by a conscious entity, yourself. However, the game world is also inhabited by characters that resemble your character but are not controlled by anyone outside the game. They simply follow a pre-written script, without any free will or ability to make choices. These characters are there to add realism and drama to the game for the actual players. They are the NPCs. The movie Free Guy, featuring Ryan Reynolds, delves deeper into this concept. In the film, the protagonist, Guy, is portrayed as an NPC. Day in and day out, he follows the same monotonous routine, waking up to visit the coffee shop before going to work as a bank teller. His friends are similarly confined to a repetitive pattern of behavior. However, unbeknownst to Guy and the other NPCs, they exist within the confines of a video game similar to Grand Theft Auto. Regrettably, the human players in the game continuously mistreat and harm the NPCs, yet they persist in their pre-written script, lacking any form of self-awareness.
She's just an NPC. Please, stepmother.
It is a disconcerting thought, but there is a possibility that NPCs exist in our own world. If, as theorized by individuals such as Elon Musk and Bernardo Kastrup, this reality is a highly advanced simulation akin to a video game, and designed to harvest loosh from the souls of conscious beings, as we have discussed in previous videos, then the presence of NPCs makes a great deal of sense. For what better way to generate anxiety and distress among the conscious souls than to place them in relationships with beings that resemble NPCs, who are unable to awaken to the deeper truths of reality? Many individuals who have joined the truth movement have encountered people in their lives who are impervious to the truth, no matter the amount of evidence presented, no matter how many times the government, media, and establishment are exposed as liars, killers, and thieves on a grand scale. A significant portion of individuals simply refuse to believe it. They maintain their blind faith. Maybe they're incapable of more than that. A few years ago, numerous publications reported on the existence of individuals without an inner voice. These are individuals who, in effect, do not think thoughts, or if they do, it is at a significantly reduced rate. When there is no external input into their minds, such as a question being asked or a greeting, their mind is silent. Quoting from a Live Science article, the lack of an inner monologue has been linked to a condition called aphantasia, sometimes called blindness of the mind's eye. People who experience aphantasia don't experience visualizations in their mind. They can't mentally picture their bedroom or their mother's face. Many times, those who don't experience visualizations don't experience clear inner speech, end quote. It is intriguing that individuals without an inner monologue also seem to lack the ability to visualize. Many occult researchers and practitioners view visualization as a crucial tool in spiritual work, as if the capacity to visualize is linked to possessing a soul. Let me state clearly that I'm not asserting that individuals without an inner voice or the capacity to visualize are soulless husks, simply archontic golems. However, this phenomenon raises the possibility that some individuals in our world today may in fact be highly convincing automatons. The NPC meme went viral after these stories were published. People started to equate those who steadfastly believe in the narratives of the establishment with the absence of an inner voice. As is often the case with our society, it became highly politicized. But is this a new idea? Let us return to the ancient Gnostics and discover that they too had knowledge of the NPC, although they referred to it by a different name. Valentinus, a prominent Christian Gnostic leader in the 2nd century, played a significant role in shaping Christianity during this time. In fact, as Tertullian states, Valentinus nearly became pope, losing the election by a mere slim margin. Among his teachings was the belief that there were 3 distinct spiritual categories of humans, quoting from the 1911 Encyclopedia Britannica. A specifically Valentinian idea is here added in that of the threefold nature of man, who is represented as at once spiritual, psychical, and material. In accordance with this, there also arise 3 classes of men: the pneumatic, the psychic, and the hylic. End quote. The hylic being is the NPC. The hylic being is purely matter. This is a being that completely identifies with its body and doesn't have any awareness of the spirit realm. Think of someone who spends their whole life working for soulless corporations, watching sports and paying their taxes. Their entire cultural world is fed to them by mass media, and they never really question establishment narratives unless someone on the TV tells them to. They are essentially golems, automatons of the dark controllers, and they don't know it. To quote from Jesus and the Lost Goddess by Timothy Freak and Peter Gandy, quote, Paul, Valentinus, and other Christians use the term hylics, or materialists. They identify themselves with the body, the circumference of the circle of self. Psychics, or soulists, identify with the psyche or soul, the radius. Pneumatics, or spiritists, are aware of themselves as spirit or consciousness, the center of the circle. Page 68. And from page 203, quote, as uninitiated hylics, we are aware of ourselves and others only as bodies in the physical cosmos, which gives rise to the eidolon, or ego, the I am the body idea. We see others in terms of our selfish ends, and as competitors trying to sue us for their selfish ends. End quote. This is the type of being the dark controllers and their oligarch minions want populating the earth. Consume slop, follow orders, buy stuff. And they are actively shaping the world in a way that makes it nearly impossible for any other being to exist here. The Gnostics and other early Christians believed that these hylics had the potential for transcendence through initiation. But alas, the ultimate goal of the dark controllers is to keep humanity plugged into a virtual reality, where every aspect of our lives are monitored and controlled by them, leaving us in a state of constant fear and never allowing us to question the meaning of our existence. It could be the case that the NPC represents the newest and most advanced iteration of the loosh generator. The dark controllers may have discovered a method to ensnare a human soul within matter, strip away its connection to the spirit, and yet still extract valuable loosh from it. This would be the solution to their problem with humans who possess a cognizance of their eternal soul and their tie to the Almighty. Individuals who are inherently resistant and disobedient. To confront this challenge, we must turn to the timeless wisdom of our forebears. Our capacity to produce loosh appears to be linked to our attachment to worldly things. Therefore, if we wish to cease fueling the archontic matrix with energy, we must commence with detachment. This can be achieved through meditative practices, which are found in various ancient spiritual traditions. The Buddha once said, as a water beads on a lotus leaf, as water on a red lily does not adhere, so the sage does not adhere to the seen, the heard, or the sensed. End quote. It is imperative that we strive to keep the material world from affecting our spiritual well-being. Our objective is to maintain a detached perspective, to be in the world but not of it. By doing so, we minimize the amount of energy that is expelled from our being, effectively reducing the emission of loosh to almost nothing. The great Indian scriptures, the Bhagavad Gita, states, quote, a man unattached to sensations, who finds fulfillment in the self, whose mind has become pure freedom, attains an imperishable joy. Pleasures from external objects are wombs of suffering, Arjuna. They have their beginnings and their ends. No wise man seeks joy among them. End quote. After my father passed, I was struck by intense bouts of anxiety and panic. I soon realized that these were the result of my egos stirring within me, clamoring to be acknowledged. It was an unusual discovery to understand that the physical body has a consciousness of its own, separate from that of the spirit. Our self-perceptions often merge the two, creating a state of perplexity and disorientation. For too long, I had buried my ego, leaving it feeling hurt and neglected like a frightened child. It was then that a striking realization hit me. The ego is one and the same as the flesh spoken of by Paul in the Holy Scriptures of Christianity. Quote, "But I discipline my flesh and bring it into subjection, lest, when I have preached to others, I myself should become disqualified." 1 Corinthians 9:27. The Greek term used by Paul, soma, is fascinating, as it's also the same term used in ancient Vedic scriptures to describe a drug that kept individuals in perpetual bliss and ignorance. And, interestingly enough, it is also the name of the drug in Aldous Huxley's Brave New World, which enslaved the masses in their hylic, or egoic state. Paul knew the importance of bringing the flesh under control. Much like taming a wild animal, he believed the spirit should rule over the flesh. The flesh, or the ego, represents our physical self, which is bound to die. It has its own mind, driven by fear, guilt, hatred, and sadness. Due to its mortality, it is primarily focused on survival, resources, and sexual gratification. Driven by a YOLO mentality, the ego seeks to fulfill its desires and pleasures in this life as much as possible. The key to success is mastering the ego. It is not a matter of ignoring or denying its existence, but rather coming to terms with it and taming it over time. One must learn to ride the ego like a trusted mount, as it can be a loyal servant if treated with kindness. On the other hand, if it's beaten and suppressed, it will revolt and lead to turmoil. The main thing is to not identify with your ego. At the end of our earthly journey, we must say farewell to our ego, having served us well. Your spirit will go on, and you can face the archontic tricksters, firmly resolving to not re-enter into their slave matrix again. Your soul is free to return to the wholeness of God. The great philosopher Plato believed that humans are like prisoners in a cave, seeing only shadows of the true reality projected upon the walls. This idea of reality being like a cave or tomb has been a prevalent thought in Greek philosophy and has had a lasting impact on Christianity, both Gnostic and mainstream. C.S. Lewis himself noted in his famous novel, The Last Battle, quote, "It's all in Plato." And as the great philosopher Nietzsche once said, Christianity is but Platonism for the masses. Quoting again from Jesus and the Lost Goddess, "In the cave of the nymphs, Porphyry decided the allegorical teachings found in the myths of Homer, explaining the cave represents the cosmos. The Pythagoreans, and after them Plato, showed that the cosmos is a cavern. Plotinus, a famous philosopher contemporary of early Christians, tells us in the cave of Plato, I see the cosmos. The body or soma is the psyche's prison or tomb, and the cosmos is its cave or cavern." Plotinus is right. Jesus is a star born into a cave, representing consciousness becoming physically incarnate in the cosmos. Through the process of initiation represented by Jesus' life, he dies to his separate self and resurrects to eternal life, whereupon the cave, now his tomb, is found to be empty. He is no longer trapped in identification with the body. He has ascended from the cave back to the kingdom of the starry heavens. End quote. See you in the pleroma. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked what you saw, please like, subscribe, and follow. You can also follow us on TikTok, YouTube, Odyssey, and Rumble. And if you want me to keep doing these videos, please support me over on Subscribestar, Locals, or Cash App. Links below.